And you could use the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to review our district mission and priorities. Then we'll move on. We'll be looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
I so move to approve the agenda.
Second.
You guys are gonna be doing that a lot tonight.
Tonight.
Say we have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Davendek,
Aye.
Fields,
Aye.
McConnell, not here. Silva.
Okay, open forum. So open forum would be a time if anyone wants to speak to the board about something not on the agenda, they can do so now if they would like to. Okay. Alrighty, we will move on to consent items. So we have consent items. Does anyone have any questions for Brett or Laura about any of that? Is there a reason maybe it's in there too, just to look at?
We didn't approve them last month, we were missed.
Oh,
That was that special meeting at the end of the month.
oh, okay.
That was actually after. No, you're all right. I will move to approve the consent items as presented.
I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Fields, Fields,
Aye.
Davendek,
I
Silva.
Aye. Okay, moving on to old business, the 23-24 student construction project.
All right, so when we pull that up, you should see a diagram of that now. So on each of those bathrooms on either side, there'll be a partition wall there so that there's privacy before you just pull open the door and there's like a stall sitting right there kind of thing. So there'll be a partition wall on each side. The trusses are going to be designed so that there is a 3-foot walk or a 3-foot overhang with a walkway that'll go all the way around on all 4 sides. And then I believe there was one less stall on the women's side. Still the same 2 bathrooms, 2 like family bathrooms. There'll be changing tables in both of those as well. And then basically, the further we can move this to the west, the cheaper the plumbing should be, just so we don't have to do such a huge run from the facility itself to connect into that sewer line there. So, so for the purpose of this, we're just asking the board to approve an amount not to exceed $180,000 for the. And we'll be using our funding source there that'll be PIPL and sales tax dollars.
So one less women's toilet than we see.
So
previous design or-
from the previous design.
Okay.
Yeah. So there used to be 6, now
Okay.
there's 5.
And there
there's
was,
one less urinal on the male side.
and that second part of the link had the prices on it. If you see that now. it's
I
there.
did
No,
not.
I did not see.
Take a peek again. There's
There's-
2 links that
there
looks like
should
they're
be there.
connected, but there's
Oh,
2 different ones so you can see the prices.
Oh.
underneath their cost
Oh, yours
estimate.
didn't refresh.
And then one of the good benefits is there will be about a 2 or 2.5 foot alleyway that'll go actually in between both of those. So if we ever need to do any service work or whatever, then we will have that. So we won't have to be knocking out walls. It'll just be already there kind of in place.
So for this being a construction project, the kids will do,
Almost all of it.
except for the stuff that has to be like a certified.
There's actually going to be a lot of opportunity for framing and drywalling, which they didn't necessarily get as much experience with the storage project. But they'll get a lot of that. They'll get to do a lot of lay a lot of tile work. So a lot more finish work this time around than what they had in the previous from the previous project.
And what was our not to exceed on the,
250.
on that?
Storage shed, yeah, we're gonna be well under 250. We're still
Where-
waiting on we're still waiting on the custom garage doors though. We ordered those 10 months ago. Yay. So that's our amount. We believe that total cost of the plumbing could come down just based on the location of it and the run that it would take from the actual building itself to the main sewer line.
And the location would be just north of the, north end zone?
Yep.
Field
North
goal?
of the track and just a little bit further to the west.
Okay.
So not too far away from where the current one is.
Will the current one stay?
Yes,
Okay, it
until
stays.
this is ready to go.
Okay.
So
And construction would begin,
as soon as the kids are able to do so. So be beginning of September
with estimated completion,
by the end of the school year.
so probably not soccer or track.
Just it's going to depend on the weather and getting that concrete poured and set, and then being able to get up and going. Because honestly, once they get the walls up, then it'll be on the availability of working with the plumber in there too. So a lot of that will depend on that too. You did not just
That's
turn your
budget
computer.
The way it's scanned in, it's sideways. It's better than turning your head. So you can-
Yeah, it's okay.
And in this doc, I cannot change it personally.
So, yeah.
With moving it more towards the west, does that make it less convenient for the other sports trying to use that facility? Or is it only football that uses, football and track primarily use it?
It'd be football and track, and then it's just not as, and soccer, it just won't be as centered for baseball. If baseball kids or fans or whatever, just have a longer way to go. Or honestly, be about the same as it is now.
What does baseball use now? Those, they don't have any others behind the concession.
Really, it would be shorter. a little bit
A
shorter.
little, maybe a touch shorter, yeah.
Okay.
4 steps.
So,
And then as far as Pebble funding, we have enough Pebble funds to cover this. Is that correct?
We do. Yeah, we have a pretty sizable carry, we have a $600,000 carryover from FY 23 to 24, and then we have our fully approved Pebble still to apply with our general still to apply. It'll just be needing to get that passed for FY 25 and beyond.
Okay, so you need, so I'd like to make a motion to approve an amount not to exceed 180,000 for the construction of restroom facilities at the football, baseball, track, soccer.
I will second that, but also have one additional question. Typically, where do our funds come for construction projects?
All Pebble. All physical plant
Always.
equipment levy, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so even when we've been building houses in the past and everything else.
Oh, no,
So,
that's student construction.
In the past, they were using their
Is
student
that-
that's
construction
two different
account.
things.
Okay,
And so the revenues that they would get on those projects, that would stay in that account. And then so they would do it out of that account. And so one of the concerns about going forward to start building houses is one, the cost of just straight up cost of building houses.
right.
And then my anyway, unwillingness of gambling the student construction fund on getting a construction loan when we look at the average cost of house that's in Jefferson compared to the cost to build just a plain 12 or 1300 square foot like ranch style house or even a 2-story house, just the significant cost of trying to build one of those right now. I'm not willing to gamble their account or public funds on building. So
Correct,
yeah,
so,
so all of our construction projects that we've done, like the roof project here at the middle school, the storage project, that was all physical plant equipment levy or Pebble funds.
so basically, not using the construction money since they can't.
but
put
it's still the
anything back.
But they
construction
still-
It's them
kids
learning.
Yeah.
using,
It belongs to that program.
okay, that's what I,
Yep.
thanks for clarification.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. If there's no other questions, please call the roll.
Davendek,
I,
Fields, Silva.
Aye. Awesome, congrats, Kurt. Good luck. All right. That's that one. All right, so moving on to superintendent's report.
We're gonna keep it on moving.
Nothing much, okay,
It's been a busy summer. Okay.
very good. Any board committee reports? Wait a minute, it's been pretty quiet. Okay. Okay, other administrative reports. I saw this skinny.
Yep, we just have one in there from Brent and Teresa. So with the principals being off contract, I gave them the grace to not work while they're on contract, off contract, sorry.
Any questions for them on that? Okay. And then any other reports or correspondence?
Principals are back on contract next Monday.
That'd be good, because we need something to talk about.
Looking forward to them being back.
All right. All right, well, man, we made the school permit thing way too early for these kids.
I know.
Okay, guys, you are unlucky. So, okay, we're gonna skip over to the new business, which is school permit, so Michelle will talk you through that one.
Okay, so I have several, actually a lot of youngsters here, hoping to get a school permit. What I would like you to do, we'll just go through this list, as it's presented, and what I'd like you to do is stand up, tell me your name, where you live, and why you would like us to grant you a school permit. So we'll just start with Addison.
My name is Addison Grease. I live on 1022 230th Street, and I need a school permit for volleyball and track.
All right, thank you. Jaren?
My name is Jared Jacobs. I live on 204 19th Street South in Grand Junction, Iowa. And I believe I should get my school permit because I'm a multi-sport athlete and it'd be easier for my parents not to drive me places.
Okay. Brennan?
Hi, I'm Brandon Jacobs. I also live in 204 South 19th Street, Grand Junction. I think I deserve a school permit because I'm a multi-sport athlete and it would be easy on my parents for me to just drive myself to practice in school.
London Harris?
I'm London Harris. I live on 827 230th Street, and I need it because I have sports, and it'd be easier for my parents because they both work.
Tristan?
I'm Tristan Naylor and I live on 203 East McKinley Street. I want a school permit because my mom leaves for work at like 6:30 and it'd be easier if I could drive myself instead of having to find rides.
Connor?
I'm Connor Wood. I live on 303 Wood Street in Harcourt, Iowa. I'm looking for a school permit so I can drive a football camp and then also to school until I'm able to get my driver's license.
Thank you. Wyatt?
I am Wyatt. I live on 985 270th Street, Greene, and I want a school permit because it's a long bus ride home.
Evan?
Hi, I'm Evan Carstens, and I want a school permit because it's really hard to get from school to home on time, like my siblings.
Okay, thank you. Henry?
I'm Henry. I live on 405 West Russell Street in Jefferson, Iowa. I need a school permit. Both my parents work out of town, and it'd be easier than hitching rides with my friends.
Caden?
My name is Caden Anderson. I live on 104 West Wilcox Street in Jefferson and I need a school permit so I can drive me and my sister to school and so my mom doesn't have to leave work from school to get us.
And Damien?
I live on, my name is Damien. I live on 2167 240th Street, Grand Junction, Iowa, and I'd like to have a school permit to drive myself to football camp.
All right. So you should all, one thing you'll need is this piece of paper. Okay, the form that you filled out. I'm just gonna highlight a couple of things for you about this. You can drive from the addresses that you have listed. So if you have more than one, you say it's more than one parent, you can drive from that address to school, from school to that address. Okay, so not wandering around, popping into A&W or those other places. You can stop if you need fuel. You can stop and get gas at your closest location. Need to make sure you live at least 1 mile from the school that you are attending, which I'm assuming is for everybody at this point will be high school, right? So a couple other things to keep in mind. You are allowed to drive between 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. Not before and not after. So if a bus comes in from a sporting event at 10:30, you need to find another ride home because you're not supposed to drive after 10 o'clock. She was take the most direct route, not wandering around. Can't stop for fuel. You can carry one other person with you that is not a relative that lives in your house. So if you've got a friend that you owe some rides to, they can ride with you, but you can't go pick them up. They need to come to where you're starting and where you're stopping. That's how that's supposed to go. No electronic communication devices. You know where you're going, so you don't need your phone to direct you or tell you where to go. Get your music, your playlist picked out before you put the car in park or before you put the car in drive, and then you just let it go. If your license, you get a violation like speeding ticket, too many people in the car, driving off route, you can lose your license and then you're back to bumming rides. And remember that it's not just police officers that are watching, it's the public as well. And they can turn you in and we have the ability to revoke your license. These are just some of the things. There are more things, more rules that you need to follow that I'm not 100% sure on the specifics of, but just make sure, you read everything that's involved with it. If you've got questions, talk to law enforcement about whether you can or can't go off route a little bit, those are some other things. So, the next thing we need to do is make a motion to approve.
I will
everybody on
make that
list.
motion to approve the list presented.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Fields,
Aye.
Top
Aye.
Silva.
Okay, so now if you guys want to bring your forms up and just kind of get in a quick line, you guys are welcome to stay and enjoy the rest of our meeting. You're also welcome to leave if you'd like as well. So make sure you guys take these up to the courthouse because we're just signing it and then they do all the fancy work on it. And feel free if you see others off the route and you're annoyed with it, turn them in. We'll take care of it. Here we go.
Right. That's for some.
Thank you. So you'll be driving from hardcore? Okay, check on the rules for that. Just make sure you're not getting yourself in trouble and drive safe. Everyone should drive safe.
I forgot
You're welcome. You didn't have to say where you live. They both. Drive safe. There you are, thank you. Close.
Oh, yeah.
Now, hopefully we see you guys again before you have to come back for a government class. You're welcome to come back to meetings anytime. I think they're gonna come because it's class. I think they're interesting.
I have other folks.
Here you are, thank you. How are you, sir? I was Googling, you're even a mile away. I think everybody's a mile away from the school nowadays. That used to be a big deal back in the day. You're welcome. You know what, I would ask the DOT, ask them up there. I would think so. If you want to be driving anywhere from
to
both
that
places,
location.
I would. But ask them because they know.
But yeah, they're the official ones.
Yeah,
Drive
drive
safe,
safe, thank you. All right, that went faster than I thought it would. Okay, moving on to new business, B fundraising requests. Yeah, the cheerleader one, that's new, I think. I've never heard of that before. The calendar. Yeah, the sponsoring the calendar thing. So do we have a motion or any questions to approve the fundraising requests?
I make a motion to approve the 2 funding requests that have been submitted.
Second.
Okay, motion in a second. Please call the roll.
Top Fields,
Aye.
Silva.
Okay, next is dairy bids. And it looked like we only had one, the other didn't even
Yeah.
bid, and
And same with bread.
And same, yeah.
Brent's kind of an interesting one. We'll do two separate motions.
Okay,
Yeah,
so do we have a motion?
Motion to
Or any
approve the dairy
questions?
bids.
Yeah. Cindy's making a
presented.
motion, I think I just heard.
Oh, I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion and a second. Please call roll.
Fields. Aye. Dominic.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
Is it common that we only get one bid? I feel like we've had more.
The
bids.
last couple of years, we haven't had good luck getting anything.
Okay.
And this year, oddly enough, Bimbo would not bid out on schools that would require them to do more than one drop off. Like, so if they like to deliver here, the elementary, the high school, they won't do it. But they would say, well, we'll drop off to like just here, and then you need to do that. And so I think they're for some larger districts who have the manpower to be able to do it, then maybe they'll bid it out. But like I talked to a couple of other superintendents, they had said BIMO just told them, we're not even gonna bid it because there's no point in us doing it, and they also would have been way higher. So
I
paint of
move
gold again.
to approve the Pinnacle bid for bread.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion and a second on bread bids, please call roll.
Fields. Aye. Dominic. Aye. Silva.
Aye. And Delith is in charge of getting those bids, is that true?
Actually, Sean is.
Sean? Oh, thanks, Sean, good job. All right, D, student fees, meal prices, activity passes.
So no real changes in the activity prices, but in the ticket prices that Mr. Wright has been talking about all year, about the football prices and the high school prices, those are all just matching conference, going up to 7 for football and 6 for everything else.
It would be interesting at some time to know the financial numbers of our students and how much we're collecting from them. Because to me, it would be really nice not to charge our students, to get more
Oh, I see.
student.
I emailed Dave Wright that question today, so I wonder, our brains were thinking the same, and he was just gonna look into it. He knows that's a big chunk of our activity passes is students, but he didn't, about like a free and reduced lunch, students are able to get a free and reduced activity ticket, what that would look like,
Yeah,
or who could be the sponsor to make a program like that work. So
right. It'd just be nice.
the conversation kind of got rolling. I saw some other schools were doing that.
Yeah. And I think it was 9 through 12.
Yeah, high school, but it's too quick to the season now to.
Oh,
try
I'm
to
not
figure
asking
that.
for that, but I think it'd be good going forward to look at
Something to
that.
think about.
So you said he will put some numbers together.
I didn't ask him anything official. I just asked him a couple of questions
Okay.
on email, and he said he can sure get us stuff if we want him to.
So is there a way for us to, I mean, I'm just thinking my girls, they pay cash at the door, or how would you be able to collect how many students? Do we keep any record of that?
If we were to look at how many like student activity passes were purchased versus if they're a student coming in, if they're like a K-12 student versus an adult, it used to be when there was different prices between the two, then you could record it because you'd have like 2 different tickets or however you did your collection system. But with everything all being the same, it becomes a little tricky. You could figure it out from student passes, however, but that would be your only way as of right now. Because actually, I asked the question between when we were collecting gate for softball. I just said, well, how many of those are like does it say like how many are Greene County fans versus how many are like Southeast Valley fans, like kind of thing, and or does it kind of give you like a running total of like how many people we have? Because it seemed like there was a lot, but I mean, I don't.
There's a lot of Southeast Valley. Right?
Oh,
And are we online only yet, or we're still taking cash?
we're on the path to cashless, so we will still accept cash at the gate, but the preferred method is going to be the online purchase through Bound.
Yep. Okay.
And then we actually do have a QR code that we can actually swipe credit cards at the gate too.
That's
so,
good.
Yep.
Okay, I move to approve the student book fee, meal prices, and activity passes as presented.
I think so.
We can. I just want to make sure that it's noted. So the student meal prices are not changing.
Yeah.
They're remaining the same from last year to this year. But the state sets the adult meal prices for both lunch and breakfast, so those are changes to reflect accordingly. But then for book fees or the activity tickets, those are noted on there that there is no change to the activity passes. However, like the gate ticket prices were adjusted based on either the conference or the district football setting those. But yeah, you can make a motion for
Okay.
all of it, which I think you already did.
I
so.
see you did. So we have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Just-
call the roll.
Davendek. Fields. Silva.
Aye.
I think our predecessor would have said we have to have them separate. But we're good.
Well, she had it all together last year, so that's why I copied it.
Perfect.
When in doubt. Okay, next up is the 23-24 depository resolutions.
So it's just the maximum allowable that we are able to keep in each of those 4 different accounts, which is the same as it was last year. For each of those, there's multiple different funds and multiple different banks, so.
And do we just have to approve those amounts?
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a motion to approve the amounts as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Please call the roll.
Fields.
Aye.
Davendek.
Aye.
Silva.
Now we're going to appoint. Appointments for a treasurer.
So for treasurer, she's actually isn't here. And we will swear her in at next month's meeting. However, but for treasurer for 23-24, Sid Jones is going to pass the torch there to Teresa Hoyle. And then for our legal counsel, we'll still use Muma and Peterson here in town for legal counsel. So
So we need a motion to approve those two.
we do.
Separate?
Yep.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve Teresa Hoyle as our treasurer?
I will make that motion.
I will second that motion.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Davendek.
Aye.
Fields.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye. Congrats, thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, Brenda.
Sure,
You just keep
sure
doing
what
it.
it all means. Since you trained me.
Yep, you learn by
Currently
doing.
unavailable. Learn by doing, we'll be just fine. Okay, and then do we have a motion, or would someone like to make a motion for legal counsel for Mima and Peterson?
I will make a motion to approve Muma and Peterson as a council for 23-24.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and a second, please call roll.
Fields. Aye. Davendek.
Aye.
Silva.
Okay, next up is G 23-24 employee handbooks. And this is for all buildings,
This is for all employees.
all employees.
We'll do building handbooks, driver handbooks, and coaches, thank you, handbooks next month. I did not think it was fair to Karen or Kara to toss a handbook to you guys when they haven't even started yet.
Okay.
So couldn't give them a chance to go through it. So
Okay.
any and all changes that are made are actually found in the very back page 60, 61, where there's additions, deletions, and clarifications from last year to this year.
Okay.
So there was still a fill in the blank on the bowling.
Is that for like the Class B schedule?
Extracurricular activity compensation.
Mhm.
Is that like yet to be determined or?
Yeah, so I've been talking back and forth with John, and he's so far this year he's going to do it for zero. Like he doesn't want anything, and I think going forward, I don't think he wants to do anything with it either. So
Okay.
I think he just wants to do it just so we have a playing program. So I don't think it would be fair to put zero. I mean, I might have to tell him to we'll have to put something in there. I can't give you a number right now, obviously.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask you to approve it without that being there. But for 23-24, anyway, it's gonna be zero anyway. So
Are there other schools that have, already have a bowling program, so we would have
yeah,
an
I'll
idea
look
of?
at those
Okay.
and see what they're going at. It's because all the seasons are the same, like the same length anyway. But I know some programs are bigger than others, but I'll try to find a program that's similar in size to ours, and we'll make a good judgment. Also, kind of look at other seasons and then look at how many kids we have this year, so we can kind of make like a good educated guess, basically, as to how many units that would be.
Well, and to me, in some ways, and I'll say it as a fault of my own, we kind of jumped the gun on approving it before we even had knew how much everything was and how much it was gonna cost to go ahead and approve the program.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of an oversight, but we should have probably looked at those numbers beforehand of bringing on another head coach, how much rental facility fees, whatever. I think everyone was just excited about bringing on a sport that people are interested in.
Well, and it kind of reminds me of soccer when they just did it for no fee to get it rolling. It's kind of that same, see if there's interest, see if there's enough to keep it a sustainable
Well, and I think they
program.
had to prove that it would be sustainable before it got approved.
They showed like the numbers from the
And
young
the
coach.
coach was free, I
Yeah.
think, the first year at the whole
Yeah.
year.
And I
so.
think that's kind of why John came that first time to say that there's so many in the youth program. He's out there. So it's
Right.
kind of,
No, I
see
agree,
how it-
but I feel like
but I'm with you.
we didn't have numbers on it, we probably should have.
Any other questions on this, on the main one?
I don't know if this is the appropriate time, and I've been asked to kind of pinch hit tonight.
Sure.
Or come in.
Yeah, come in
But
front of
I'm-
him, but now would be a time, for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm representing the association and specifically Julie. I know that Keith Tillene's been in conversation with several of you. I guess this is Julie worked on getting her master's on the old style of handbook. And the understanding, at least at that point, I believe, is after she had credits from before, that going forward, the first year she would be paid at a master's level, the next year master's plus 15, the next year master's plus 30. That won't be the way the new policy is. It would be that
And that would be the way it was in 22-23 as well.
possibly,
No,
but I know
possibly.
there's others, I know for sure there's others. I don't want to say any specifics, but went
Right.
from BA
There's
plus
two,
15
right.
to MA plus 15 and things like that.
Mhm.
And I guess the association's feeling is, one of the arguments would be, well, where do we dike the, the pond in a way, that all these teachers will still want to do that, Julie does. But this would be the end, because now we have it very specifically in the handbook. I don't think there was good direction in the former handbooks.
In the 22-23.
But in any case,
I'd tell you to go look at the 22-23 handbook, and where there are 2 sentences within 3 sentences actually that specifically state credits cannot be counted once they are used. And it says it so much so that it says it twice.
and I think in that sense, it would be, if she was
This also-
using some of her credits to gain her master's, in other words, she had 15 credits, well, then she had 30 credits, and then, now all those credits have gone to her master's. But as with other teachers, even myself included, the 30 credits I had before were for English, and I got my master's in history, so those 30 credits did not go toward that.
Correct. But you use those credits to move across the pay scale, correct?
Yeah.
Before your master's.
I went from BA plus 30 to MA plus 30.
Right, and you shouldn't have been allowed to do that.
Right, and when that was discussed later, it was to be that you could make those steps as you went incrementally.
And you're talking about page 13, I guess it's on ours, it's page 12, where the scale chart is, right?
That's
Where the
what
pay chart
I'm not
is.
following
So just
this.
to kind of refer, page 12 is where the pay scale is, where it talks about moving up, moving on the pay scale, right? And then also on page, hold on just a moment here, on page 6.
When I did it, I made sure to send an email to Brenda that she got approved through Tim. And I had that in writing because I knew there might be a question. But I think there was a discussion with Julie and Sean Thompson and Tim and Heath Tillene. But I don't know if any minutes were taken.
And I think the change is now the word after, correct? In this handbook says after, or is that in the 2022-23 handbook too, is what you're saying?
It's in the 22-23 handbook.
That,
It
the word
says-
after.
You know,
I guess my thought was, at least how Tim had explained it before, what he didn't want to have happen is what I did. But I know that that happened with someone else too.
So it says in the 22-23 handbook, page 20, a teacher who's entitled to an increase in salary by reason of additional training shall be issued an amended contract for said increase if intent to move on the salary schedule is submitted to the superintendent office prior to March 1st, and written evidence of such training is presented to the superintendent's office prior to September 1st. Teachers may only count credits one time and are limited to moving one lane per year.
Right.
Certified employees will be allowed to move a maximum of one lane per year on the salary schedule with the exception of moving to the master's lane. Credits may only be used one time for placement on the salary schedule.
And so what I would say, my interpretation of that would be, once again, if you have, you have a bachelor's,
Mhm.
you're working towards getting a master's, so you're adding these credits. And those credits then go to becoming a master's. I would agree that those credits should disappear. But I think with me, another teacher I know, others, Julie, her credits did not go toward her master's. And the thing that they discussed wasn't to go from BA plus 30 to master's to plus whatever. It was to go BA plus 30 to master's plus 15 to master's plus 30 in those 3 years. I think that, and if this is the way it goes, but I think it'll have a chilling effect on teachers getting those ongoing education credits.
Okay.
So what,
Julie, you had your hand raised. Would you like to say something here for
Well,
a second?
it gets very difficult because I'm not used to advocating for my salary. And Abbott's and I had a very civil conversation. We Zoomed. You were willing to listen to me. And I think we just see it differently. We can agree to disagree. And I think the best way you described how you see it is double dipping. Would that be a fair way? And for me, like for Sarah Stotts, they got rid of the Iowa State teaching program at Iowa State. She got her master's, so she never taught. She went BA, master's. So then she was hired at a master's. Well, in the way I see it is my BA 30, those 30 credits had nothing to do with my master's. I started a whole master's over for the master's. So I have the master's, but I'm still should be able to access all those extra credits because even if I went from a BA to a master's, right, I would have still gotten those credits that are beyond a BA. So what we're asking you is to say, it's like, taking pickles on a hamburger. What I'm asking is to do what was precedented before, not with you, Brett Abbott's, but as a school board, they did award 4 that I know of, and it could have been more people. What was done before, could you put me underneath that? I started in 2021 to get my master's. And there's a bigger picture to me because really it's not just about the money either. It's also about the principle. It's like, if we're gonna say that we want to retain teachers, how can we reward teachers for trying to go the extra distance to get educated and use that education to benefit students? Which I really feel ethically is what I'm bound to do. How can I make learning real? My master's was very important in becoming a better teacher, and we want to reward teachers that are willing to do that extra work. So I think if you're gonna say retention, and I was, really, hit hard, like, well, at your age, why would you go get a master's? Because I still want to be a better teacher.
I didn't want that.
Yeah.
No, that was not you. No, it was not you. It was, other people. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
But at my age, I got my master's because we have a different clientele. I was frustrated. I didn't want to have teacher burnout. I want to be a better teacher. So what I'm asking is what you did for other students or other teachers, because we were students also as a board, could you still do that from when I was getting my master's?
So then, from my
This would be
understanding,
this is a personal conversation.
Yep,
This
so I
is
think
not a handbook.
this is what I was going to say. So this is the first time the whole board has got to hear. I know you've got to talk to some, different conversations have got to be had. So I think it's good for us all to hear it all at the same time. And kudos to you for wanting to do it in this way, because that's hard to do. I think even if we go and approve this now, which I think we might, it doesn't affect the conversations that could still go on between your principal, superintendent, your advocates, things like that. So is that the right avenue to take? Is let's take the rest of it now that we all know it in a public way.
Sure, and Bonnie,
Take
can I
the
say
rest.
one more thing?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed, I mean, because I'm asked permission, but even like for retention, when we are trying to attract, because, you know, I'm trying to do things outside the box to help find another Spanish teacher, like advertising on Facebook, do you know any candidates? And we want people to look at that pay scale and the lanes and be attractive. You know, what are the best ways we can attract long-term teachers that will stay in our school district? And so this is right now, there's a little wiggle room or whatever. I know you want to be more definite about it, but they're going to look at that. What can you award me to come to your school district? What time does school start? What time does, you know, just like some of those things that you guys are looking at. Thank you for listening.
So okay, then my question would be, is what is in here now?
Yep,
Is
so.
it, 'cause my goal would be, from the board perspective, is we don't want to end up in a gray area again.
Right, so the 22-23 handbook is not gray. And I talked about that with our legal as well. And what's in here now is virtually the same language with the emphasis that in order to move across the salary schedule, once you've earned your master's, credits must be earned after the master's. What's in the 22-23 handbook says that credits cannot be counted twice, which is what is being asked, is for credits to be counted a
So
second
it's
time.
just a better clarification.
Okay. So, but maybe there's
But I think the
difference of
prob-
opinion if it's being counted twice.
I
or
think,
not. But that's personnel,
That's a personal
not,
decision.
okay.
Thank you.
thank you for speaking. Okay. Are there any other questions on the last page? It is a nice one that it says some of the other changes in here. Are there any other questions on any of that?
Here, yeah, for page 16, that's where the new language is.
Mr. Evans, this is what you gave to us before, right?
It's exactly the same. Yep.
Okay.
Not the only thing that I added actually was while we were sitting in the meeting was number 19. That was it. Just that I had clarified that. I did not put that in that sheet, but otherwise I have not touched a thing.
Okay.
Other than made sure that the table of contents was accurate.
Right.
Okay, so is there any other questions or a motion to approve the 23-24 employee handbook?
And so that's when you were saying what you handed to them, that's the group that met and reviewed this handbook, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then I will move to approve the handbook as presented,
I will second that.
employee handbook.
Okay, motion in a second, please call the roll.
Fields.
Aye.
Davender. Aye. Silva.
All right, 2080 agreement with Head Start.
Yeah, so there's nothing new, don't need any action on it. It's just to bring the awareness of what this is again. So we are partnering with New Opportunities or Head Start. And our PK3 classrooms and a PK4 classroom will be housed at the Children's Center. One PK3 and one PK4 will be at the Children's Center. So it's just the confirmation of the agreement. We're all said and done. We're moving forward with them in the Children's Center, and they'll supply a pair per classroom, and then pick up the tab on their students' meals. So it's just a further just the finalized agreement, all done and signed. You actually signed it.
I did sign it a while ago.
So a long time ago, but just wanted to just bring it to your attention one more time, and then we can move on. There's no action needed.
Thank you. On to the sports medicine coverage contract. And this was just with 21st Century Rehab again, and it's all the things. Are the both things changes to that, or is that?
Sports medicine, sorry.
No, you're good. I don't even know if those are changes or just things they are pointing out.
Just emphasis.
Okay, that's kind of, so they do a lot for us, and it's not a big price tag
Oh, it's
for all the things they come to.
fantastic amount.
And I don't think it changed from last year.
It's the exact.
So
What I'm gonna ask, and I'm not trying to be a pain and pick on football. Why does football have extra for everything? They have 2 extra days or 2 days versus 1 day for them to be available, and then home and away and postseason.
well,
They get the significant contact involved because they're more susceptible to head injury. Actually, girls soccer's first. If you look at the state of Iowa, I believe it's girls soccer then football.
So then should soccer have more at kid then?
She's at every game anyway. So
I
it's
just
just not
didn't,
contracted to be necessarily.
just wondering what the rationale was, if that makes sense.
for the state of Iowa, yeah, for concussions. Yeah. Girls soccer, then it's girls soccer, football, and I think then it's volleyball.
Are we doing anything then, I mean, with our soccer team as far as concussion precautions,
Yeah, so they go through like
the same screening as
Yep, so
football?
that all of them, well, they have to. So all of them do that impact assessment.
Okay.
And then actually.
Is that for all sports, do they?
Yeah,
Okay.
and so, and except for esports, I think. So, but sorry, high impact sport over there, so, and it's actually something that I went through with Borg last year because he was out. I think he missed 2 weeks of football, and then he ended up he missed some time in soccer just because of the. And I know just my own personal experience with Emmy is that she is meticulous as all get out with that. So, and she's, and I know our coaches are really, really good at spotting it, having conversations with their players. I know like Coach Duncan for Borg, and then Coach Greene during soccer, they were phenomenal during those times. So
Is there any, I want to ask this. Kids can get hurt outside of just sporting events.
Mhm.
So the baseline, what do we call it? Baseline.
The impact concussion
Impact,
test.
Yes, when
baseline screening. Is that available to kids that would get hurt?
they
So is that
they
how
could
these-
do one and have it paid for by their own insurance, but not through us.
Okay.
Because ours is like specifically if they're like a student athlete in an activity.
But would you have access to your kid's baseline
Yeah.
as a comparison?
they-
The secondary one,
As long as there's a sharing agreement, and that allowable release of information or release of records from the school to that, which is as simple as parents providing permission to the school being written with document or forms for those.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
Access, yeah, like if they get a concussion outside of school, can they go and look at that?
You'll be able to pick up, like Emmy was telling me, like you can pick up on those baselines really, really quickly because there was a player last year that was concussed during camp, and when they went to go do their baseline, you could tell it was not normal.
So the total cost of this one is $9,500 for the school year.
Mhm.
So we would be looking if there's no other questions, looking for a motion.
Move to approve 9,500 for this contract.
I'll second that motion.
Motion in a second. Please call the roll.
Dominic. Aye. Fields. Aye. Silva.
Aye. Next up is the board policy review. I didn't,
721 through 5029.
Yep.
Changes to any of those.
so if anyone doesn't have any questions on that one,
I will make a motion to approve the board policy review of 502.1 through 502.9.
I will second that motion.
motion in a second.
Dominic.
Aye.
Fields. Aye. Silva.
Aye. All right, 21-22 financial audit. So
This was before Brett and before Laura.
Right.
So,
I know, I'm kind of like,
by and large, however, the comments are about what you'd expect. There's a couple of old accounts that they want us to get rid of. And then it's the segregation of duties, which comes up. It's gonna come up every single time. They want one person to do
Yeah.
every little teeny
One-
tiny thing,
one
or
to do-
one to do
everyone does
this, one to do
printing,
that,
yep.
so on. So by and large, pre-positive, actually.
I laughed at, you missed, motion carried 5-0.
Yeah, yeah, Brenda was pretty hot about that.
So minor,
Yeah.
but that's good that they're looking at that closely.
Yeah.
Do we need to approve this?
No, no action.
Then the IJAG memorandum of understanding.
So it's for us to be able to continue with the IJ program. We have it with the 9, 10, and 11, 12 program. Those are, we use at-risk funds for that. So those aren't general fund expenditure. The cost of the program is the same as it was last year. So for both programs total, it's $50,000.
I will move to approve the IJAG memorandum of understanding.
I will second that motion. All right, motion and a second. Please call roll. Dominic.
Aye.
Fields. Aye. Silva.
Aye.
And then vote couple discussion.
Yeah, just to kind of get it on record. So next month, we will be putting up we'll do a motion to put this on the November elections. So we'll do that. We're going to be starting to share some of our social media posts and informational things that are coming out about our voter couple. So all of this information will start coming out now. It'll be available for some of our back to school and open house stuff.
Who puts together the promotional materials?
So Cindy's done some stuff with Canva, and then we had a teacher that volunteered to do some work there too. So we're going to kind of combine those, and we're going to be able to kind of put them out through multiple platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then do mailers, and then do some like physical copies that we can do during our open house stuff. Put up bulletin boards, things like that around town, just of informational, what it is, where it goes, how it's spent, how much we generate in terms of revenues, that kind of thing. So
I would say in general, the voting population probably do not have kids. Like the people that show up to vote are not people that have kids.
Yep. Yeah,
So
we got
do
some
we have some printed?
Yep. So we got
materials?
some analytics from the last election, and just kind of looked at the percentage and then the actual numbers that are associated with those percentages of the age range of voters. So I feel comfortable that we know where our audience is in terms of age range, but
There's a couple morning
couple-
coffee spots.
there are some
that would
morning
be
coffee
worthy
spots.
of,
Yeah, there's
stopping
some
at.
Kiwanis and the Rotarians, and so lots of different opportunities.
Sparky. All right, on that note.
That's it.
All right, being no other business, meeting adjourned.